Okay, so today I'm gonna demo what I call, let me get my coffee. Hang on, you gotta have your coffee. Nothing can start without the coffee. Coffee. Okay. So today I'm gonna demo I'm gonna demo what I call a 2-in-1 stash jar. I just kind of give the term stash jar to them because it's cheeky, but it's basically a jar you can put sugar packets or tea bags in, or ketchup packets, or whatever deli napkins, whatever you want to put in it. And you can put it on your kitchen counter and use it, or you can use it somewhere else in the house, in the bathroom, to put cotton balls or whatever. But I call them 2-in-1 because basically I'm going to throw a closed form, and then I'm going to do some fancy things to it so that I make the bottom and the lid, the bottom and the lid, the body and the lid, the whole thing in one piece. So I call it a 2-in-1. So I'm going to get started. So let me have a little drink of coffee. And then we will get going. So, I'm using the same stoneware that I did for the last videos. It's just reclaimed from here in the studio. I'm here at the studio, in the Clay Studio in the Craft Guild of Dallas. Doing a little demo for y'all. And so we'll see what happens. So let me get this centered up right quick. Doing my usual coning. So, again, like with so many forms thrown on the wheel, I'm going to throw a cylinder first. So, in order to partly to get what I have to do to get the size that I want is you want to make sure that you start out with the base that you want, the width of the base, or the diameter of the base that you want. So, I'm going ahead and flattening this out so that it's the diameter that I want, and then I'm going to start throwing my cylinder. So I'm going to open up, press down, keep some moisture in there. That word, people don't like the word moist. I don't understand why that's a thing. I don't really care one way or the other. I can't think of a lot of words that I don't like, that are like, ew, I don't like that word. Anyway. So I'm just opening it up, and if you saw my other videos, you'll remember I was talking about doing that little undercut because you want it to do a right angle like this. You don't want it to be and have a lot of clay left on the bottom. So I'm already starting my right angle down there so I can pull up as much clay as possible. I'm using 2.5 pounds, and I'm actually sitting here hoping that I'm using enough for this. I kind of made it kind of wide, so I'm hoping I won't be sorry. I'm going to try not to be. Whoops. Come on. Just trying to smooth that out in the bottom as I'm going along. Get a nice smooth inside bottom. So right now I'm just pulling up the sides, getting this is a wide cylinder, but I want it to be to hold like sugar packets or sugar or tea bags and whatever you need to put in there, rubber bands, whatever. And that'll fit real good even after it's gone through the firing process and it's shrunk. It should be fine. So just making sure that I'm not leaving any extra clay down in there in the bottom. One more little pull. Okay, now I probably should have kept the top pulled in a little bit more, so we'll see what happens. But now I'm going to go in and try to collar this in. And this batch of clay was pretty elastic when I was wedging it earlier, so I'm hoping that this is not going to be an issue, but we'll find out. So when you're collaring it in from this far out, you need to you need to smooth it out, meaning the rim is gonna, as you're pushing the clay back in, the rim is gonna start to wrinkle a little bit. I have a little bit of a wrinkle here. So here in just a second, I'm gonna sort of try to pull it up and into the center, doing just a little smoothing out and evening out. And also your clay bunches up and gets thick, and so you want to pull that out anyway. So I'm just pulling up into the center. And one of the things that's really important when you're throwing is to try to keep these hands connected. Whatever you're doing is, sometimes you can't because the cylinder's too tall, but as soon as you can get where your thumbs can connect or your hands can connect in some way, it's good to do that because it gives you leverage, it gives you balance, it makes it so much easier to work with. If your hands are separate like this and you're pulling up, it can get really wobbly really fast. So I try to, as soon as I can, when I can get my hands over that rim, I connect them as soon as I can. Otherwise, it can be tough. Bigger pieces can be really hard when you can't do that. It's a little harder to keep everything balanced. So, all I'm doing right now is just pushing in and closing this form. And all you're doing when you're closing a form is just getting that the rim to come in more and more and more. And so that's all I'm doing, is pressing that rim in. Just pushing it in, pushing it in, push it in, way in. Like that. I've got a little, you're going to get a little bit of an uneven rim. That's not a surprise because you've been pushing that clay together. So you just take your handy dandy needle tool and cut that out. Cut it out. And so I don't have quite enough clay to close over. So I'm going to come over here. I'm using my flexible metal rib. I could probably just use a sponge. It's probably a better thing to use. And I'm just going to push some more clay toward the center and put that little shoulder that will be the top part of the lid when I'm done. Push that in a little bit. Now, before I get too far, I always forget to bring it with me. I need to swab. There's a little water down in the bottom, and I need to go ahead and swab it out now. So I'm going to sneak over here, sneak around behind the camera, and get my sponge on a stick. Come back over here. I'm going to use that one. It's got the big fluffy sponge on it. Before this gets too small, let's put it down in here. Kind of get some of that water soaked up out of there. Excellent. Then I'm going to go back, now that I've sort of pushed this in a little bit. And I'm just pushing in towards the center and just compressing that. Wow, that was a good one. And compressing that lid. Now, I'm going to use this sponge on a stick, which is what I use for my shaping. You'll probably remember that from another video if you've seen my other videos. And it's just going to help me do a little shaping. I'm going to do a dome on this lid. Take that out of there. Get that out of there. And trying to take care not to get any on the inside at this point, because what I'm doing now is I'm just gonna close this up. So here we go. It's getting close. Getting close, getting close, and there we go. Boop. And that form has been closed. Now what's wonderful about this is that once it's closed, you can kind of manipulate the form because it's being supported on the inside by air. Because it's completely closed up. So it's like you're dealing with a bubble at this point. So I can actually manipulate the piece a little bit if I wanted to. And I kind of do. It makes it a lot easier to do some shaping, which is what I'm doing now. Kind of pressing that in. And I'll do a little, when this gets to be leather hard, I can do a little trimming on it. To kind of clean it up a little bit. But this is going to be a nice shape. It's a little shallower than I thought. If I had made it put a little more clay, I used 2.5 pounds. If I had done a little bit more clay, like 3, I could make it taller. But that's okay, no big deal. It looks like it's going to be a nice shape, and it's going to have a nice high dome, which is good. And I will probably do a little trimming. This top is a little, let's see if I can go ahead and flatten that out a little bit anyway. I'll probably have to do a little trimming just to make sure that top is where I want it. Okay, so this is looking good. This is a nice shape. It's a nice looking dome. I'm kind of push it up a little bit. And now I'm just sort of playing with it because, like I said, you can do some manipulating with it at this point, which is really nice, and kind of do some shape refining, some general form, refine the form a little bit. So I've got that done. Now I'm going to take this, my handy dandy wooden cutting tool thing. I'm not sure what that's called. I know it's got a term, and just cleaning that up a little bit. You see me do this on the other pieces. Just going in here and getting this cleaned up. That little bit of clay I can throw into something else and wedge into with a bigger piece later on. So I say that it's not done for yet. So clean that up. Pull this, get this little bit out of here. And like I was saying in my other videos, my shapes tend to be pretty simple. I don't do a lot of or at least I haven't up to this point done a lot of manipulating the piece after it's done, or anything like that. I tend to keep a very neat, clean form because I'm going to do carving on it, and I feel like the piece needs to be a very simple, clean canvas for that, because the carving is very busy. So, or it can be perceived that way. So I try to keep my forms very simple, my throne forms very simple. And I mean, a throne form is challenging. A simple throne form can be tough. So speaking of tough, so here's the next thing I'm going to do. Now this lid, the lid and the base, the lid is going to have a gallery. When I make these, you can put the gallery on the bottom or the top, the base or the lid. I just tend to put the gallery on the lid because that's what I saw demoed, and so that's what I've always done. But you can do either one. But for me, I just do the gallery on the lid. So, take a drink of my coffee. How I do this, so now I've got my closed form. And the closed form is going to help me with this next step, which is kind of tricky. But just don't let it scare you. So what I do, that's interesting, what I do is I take this nice little 1/2 of a clothespin. It's maybe 1/4 of an inch right there. Just a good old everyday clothespin. And it's not a bad idea to get it wet. And this is what I'm going to make my gallery with. And all I'm going to do is while the wheel is spinning, I'm going to very slowly and carefully press into the side of the piece I've just thrown. Just pressing in, then take it off very slowly. And that's probably as much as I'm going to do. Well, let me do a little bit more. Helps to kind of hold it up because you're forming that gallery on the closed piece. So you have the air on the inside helping you. It's supporting the piece from the inside. So I'm still being careful, but I'm not worried about messing it up too much. But, so I'm just going in, giving it a little more push. Very slowly taking that clothespin away, looking at it again. It's looking pretty good. The good thing about this, and you'll understand what I mean in a minute, is you can do some trimming later on. Basically what we're going to do is I'm forming the gallery that's going to be attached to the lid, and I'm going to let this sit and become leather hard. And that looks a lot better. And then when it's leather hard, I'm going to cut the top off the bottom. I'm going to cut the lid off the base. And I'll do some trimming so that they fit together. But this is a really great form because you end up with a lid that matches the base, that has a nice fit. Basically what I do is I trim the bottom and the top until the lid and the bottom fit together, and then when it's bone dry, I kind of very carefully spin it just to make sure that it fits on all sides. I have a jar like this that I bought from someone many years ago, and the lid didn't fit. The lid didn't fit. I mean, I always had a hard time figuring out exactly how to put it on because the lid and the top and the bottom were warped just a little bit, and the lid would only fit one way. And I always thought to myself, oh man, that's something to really watch out for in the future. It's a great piece. I still have it. I love it. But that was something that really hit home to me, and sort of I need to remember that. So I'll hold it up close. You can see where I pressed it in. It didn't distort anything, which is amazing. I think part of that's because sometimes the sides can get distorted a little bit. I think in this case it didn't, because this was really nice, firm clay. I reclaimed it about a month ago, and it's been sitting in a bag for about a month. The longer reclaimed clay sits around, the more pliable it gets. There are stories, apparently in Japan, people would mix up clay and store it away and literally save it for a generation. So 20, 30, 40 years, maybe? Because the longer it sat around, the more pliable it got. So, the only other thing I'm going to do with this is because I have to wait for it to get leather hard, it does shrink a little bit because it does do some drying. So, what I normally do, if I can find it, is, so here it is. I take my needle tool and I poke a tiny hole in this piece. And what I have started doing is I poke it right in the very top because as sort of cleanup, and when I'll do my carving all over the lid and on the sides and everything, that hole will disappear. It'll shrink, it'll get covered, filled in, and it's so tiny, it's not gonna, a little tiny needle prick is not gonna cause any problems, but it will help air escape as the piece shrinks a little bit down to leather hard. And you don't want to trap air in there, because if I were to just let this go to bone dry, eventually it's going to form cracks, because that air is going to be pushing out on the inside, from the inside, as the clay is drying and shrinking. So I just take my needle tool and I just make a little tiny hole right here. Not very big at all. And there we go. There's a little tiny little hole right there. And that's going to let the air get out. So there you have it. There's my 2.5 pound stash jar. It could be a little taller, but I'm not going to complain. It looks good, and in my humble opinion. And so this I would just let and sit and get leather hard. And then when it gets leather hard, I put it back on the wheel. And you can use a needle tool to do this. I have a fabulous little, who makes this? Kemper? No, not Kemper. Dolan. This is a fabulous Dolan tool. It's this little, I call it my little weapon, my little Italian stiletto knife. It's just a little tiny blade. I use it to cut the lid off, and then when I can have them in 2 pieces, then I can trim them to fit, and then I can do my carving on it. So, and I may do like a video of doing carving on it later on. I've done a carving video, but I might do another one for this one. So anyhow, that's basically it. That's what there is to making a 2-in-1 stash jar, as I like to call it. Thank you for watching. I do have a YouTube channel. This will be on my YouTube channel. I can't believe I'm saying this is the very first time. If you would like to watch more videos, please subscribe. Hello, please subscribe, and so you can see other videos I'm going to put up. I'm going to put up some stuff, hopefully, of some of the firings that we're having right now, and I've got a sale coming up starting this Saturday, the 18th. It's going to start at 12 noon. It's online. It's at it's at GardnerPottery.com. It's all kinds of pottery. There may be about 50 pieces, mugs, bowls, lidded jars just like this. There's some really pretty little wine cups, vases. Please go there and check things out and buy something. I would appreciate it, and I will ship it to you, or I'll bring it to you if you're local. And thanks for watching this video today. Take care, and I'll be back with another one pretty soon. Bye-bye.